thegearnetwork.com.
The following is a presentation of the Gear Radio Network.
Here we go. Hey, everything on three. Number three. Wait on one. Oh, wait on three. 1, 2, 3. Wait. Hey, next up from that. Eyes on three. Everything on 3 and 1. Everything.
You are now listening to the Fantasy Football Bros Podcast.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Fantasy Football Bros Podcast. I am Chazz Stanley, and hopefully, as always, joined by Jay Coleman. How's it, Jay?
It's good.
Welcome back to the show. You just brought this up to me. Was it big news out of the Bills? Bills made a big signing this week of former first-round pick Tavon Austin.
Sure did.
I believe he was I believe he was a top 10 pick.
Yeah, I think so.
In that 2013 draft. Funny story, I know. I don't know if you know this. Do you know how the Rams acquired him in that draft?
No.
They traded with the Bills. So that was the Bills pick. The Rams traded up to pick Tavon Austin. We traded back and took your boy E.J. Manuel.
Your boy.
Yeah, he was fine. He's fine. No, he wasn't good. He didn't have a chance, but hey, we're in a much better place now. E.J. Manuel didn't have a chance, all right? Leave him alone. He's better than your boy Peterman.
Yeah, don't make fun of my guy, Peterman.
That's your dude. I don't think he's on the team anymore. So what do you think about the Tavon Austin signing, quick, for all our Bills fans?
I mean, it's a good depth signing. I mean, he's going to be battling it out. I think so.
I mean, I don't think he's your receiver. I don't think he's your slot guy by any means. I mean, what that means to me, I think that move really puts into motion that they believe in Isaiah McKenzie, because I think they're going to take McKenzie off of kick returns and just focus on him as a receiver. Because, a lot of, dynamic receivers are kick and punt returners, but the stars aren't.
Yeah, no.
Once in a while, you'll see Cooper Kupp take a punt or something, but not every time. So I think that means they really believe in Isaiah McKenzie, which they should.
Yeah,
he's awesome. Agree. I don't see Tavon Austin being a receiver on this team.
Definitely not.
And B, I don't even know if he'll make the team.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say there's a good chance that he doesn't make the team. I mean, just because we signed him doesn't mean he's going to automatically make the team.
You got Crowder, and we're already penciling Crowder as a slot guy, but, you got a rookie that they drafted. So you're already looking at 5th or 6th receiver.
And you got James Cook.
And I mentioned that last week, that he's could be the slot guy. And the big rumors later in the year of OBJ, perhaps. So, maybe Tavon's on the team till OBJ's healthy. Gone. OBJ comes in to be your depth piece.
He's a veteran guy, too, so if someone gets hurt, then it's like, we got Tavon Austin.
But the thing about Tavon Austin, and you know me, not prepared, no stats at hand, but I bet he's been in the league 9-ish years and has about 200-something receptions. And I think Cooper Kupp last year had about $140. So, he's not a very productive receiver in his career. Total return guy. Which is fine. He's got to be just as good as McKenzie, and McKenzie can focus more on being a wide receiver. Because I think they have big plans for McKenzie.
Yeah.
I think they have a lot of plans to kind of use him like, the Niners were using Deebo Samuel, who I had in fantasy last year, and traded away. So we won't talk about that. So that's also in this intro, I want to send a shout out and a thank you to Ace Von Johnson, guitar player of the band LA Guns, because we know him from being on the All Bets Are Off podcast with Robbie Vegas. They were in town last night of this recording. They friggin' were awesome. And Ace got us in with a couple of comp tickets, so thank you very much for that, Ace. By us, I don't mean Jay, because I didn't bring him.
No, you didn't.
I brought All Bets Are Off podcast, Robbie Vegas. I brought Robbie Vegas to the show. Technically, Robbie Vegas brought me to the show, because he's more chummy. But you know what? This is my podcast. And since it's my podcast, I'm going to say we are going to take a commercial break. We'll be right back after this. Yeah, and we're back. What an awesome sponsor. Penis enlargement pills are great. We all need... No, we don't need them. Not at all. So we are here to talk about the draft, the NFL draft that just happened about a month or so ago, and the rookies, and how we might see them affect the NFL landscape, the fantasy football landscape. So there's a lot of picks. And we're just going to try to stick with the AFC. And don't worry, we're not going to be talking about centers and linemen and all that stuff. So we'll just talk about the impact players, and we're going to start with the AFC. Does that sound good to you, Jay?
Sounds good to me.
All right. Doesn't matter if it did anyway. I was going to do it anyway. All right. So we're going to go in alphabetical order with the AFC, and that would be the Baltimore Ravens. And I'm looking at their draft, and they literally went defense, lineman, defense, lineman, cornerback, tight end, Charlie Kohler, 128th overall. Probably going to just be Andrew's backup.
Yep.
So I don't think it means anything.
So they did nothing.
Punter, another tight end, 2 tight ends. So that's interesting. 2 tight ends in the draft when they have Mark Andrews. So I think he still needs a contract. So, I mean, that's something later to discuss. Cornerback, and in the 196th overall, they took a running back, Tyler Batty. He's a baddie, yo.
Big Tyler Batty.
Could that guy mean something, Missouri running back? I mean, it's the Ravens. They had, 4 guys on IR last year?
Yes.
They were signing bums off the street, right?
They basically signed you.
I would have probably done better than Le'Veon Bell. Devontae Freeman was all right. Who else did they? They signed Devontae Freeman, Le'Veon Bell, and that guy that was just on the Saints the year before. I don't never pay attention. I don't do any research. But that's all from my head. So you never know. I mean, you had Edwards hit the IR. You had Dobbins hit the IR, and the third string guy, Justice Hill or something, I think his name is, hit the IR, right? That's crazy. And they had to bring in the 42-year-olds.
Well, Le'Veon Bell isn't 42, but it might as well be 42.
He acts like he's 42. So, I don't know. Out of this group, hey, if you look at it different ways, they took a safety, a center, an edge rusher, a defensive tackle, an offensive tackle. That sounds like the Ravens to me. So maybe they're putting a little more investment in their line to run the ball more, to be effective with Lamar Jackson. Maybe he'll have more time. Maybe he'll run the ball more. Who knows? When they're investing in that. You know what they did in draft? A wide receiver.
Sure.
And you know what they did? They traded away their best receiver. So it's interesting to see.
You don't need a wide receiver when your quarterback's a running back.
I'm a Lamar Jackson guy. I do like him. All in all, though, I don't think this draft did anything for Baltimore fantasy-wise, but in NFL draft, I've seen a lot of people, like this list I'm looking at here on NFL.com, they gave him an A+. So the signing of Kyle Hamilton, 14th overall, he was pretty much a top 5 or 6 player.
Yeah.
And then Tyler Lindenbaum, the center, another top 10, 15 player that they had on the list. Plus, the Michigan edge rusher, David Ajabo, at 45 overall, I'm pretty sure he was predicted to go in the first round, too. So, they got some steals.
They had a solid draft. If you're a defense guy, you love their draft.
Who the hell's a defense guy listening to this, right? None of us. We're moving on to who's next in alphabetical order, Jay?
The Buffalo Bills, baby.
Do you know anything about them?
No, not really.
No, not really. All right.
We don't do any research on the show.
No research. So, NFL.com grading for the Bills draft is an A. So, that's pretty sweet. Right off the bat. First round pick, Khair Elam, cornerback from Florida. Who knows cornerbacks, right? I mean, he could be great. Like, this is the same regime that traded down and took Trey White. And Trey White was the 3rd or 4th cornerback taken in the first round that year. Khair Elam's the 3rd or 4th cornerback taken in the first round this year. So, I just trust it.
Yeah.
I trust what they do. Have you seen the videos of Khair Elam with his, playbook and his notes?
Yeah.
And did you see, Bean's eyes? Brandon Bean's eyes?
Yeah.
They love this guy. They went up and got him, I believe, too. They traded up,
they
right?
did.
So
that's their guy.
So that's their guy. And I trust it. And the reason we're discussing him, other than us being Bills marks, is that the Bills were the number one defense in the NFL last year. And they
without Trey White for
half the season.
Yeah.
And looking over their draft quickly, they added 1, 2, 3, 4 defensive picks from the draft, right? So they're keeping up. But that's not the only thing they added, because this is the first real player we can talk about. Second round, 63rd overall, the Buffalo Bills select James Cook, running back from Georgia. And this shocked me. It really did, because I didn't expect him to be on the board there.
Yeah, me neither.
I thought he would be gone, because he's got the pedigree. His brother is your boy, Dalvin Cook, right? And it just made too much perfect sense. James Cook's a bit smaller. He's more of a pass-catching back. Well, what do the Bills do the best? Throw the ball, right? And what does Zach Moss do not well? Well, everything.
Yeah.
No, he does everything not well. So I think that pretty much buries Zach Moss.
Yeah. I mean, he might bury Singletary.
I think that's your 1-2 punch, Singletary and Cook. But you can't forget, too, that the Bills also in the offseason signed Duke Johnson.
Yep.
So, I just think Moss is done. I could see him being cut. I could see him being practice squadded, if that's a word. But you can carry 4 running backs.
Yeah. With him, Moss and Duke Johnson are probably going to be they're going to be fighting it out for that last spot for sure.
But if you look at...
if they only carry 3.
If you look at what the offense is and what the offense needs, I think they would value Duke Johnson because he's a pass catcher and they don't run the ball. They just don't. And then when they do, they'll do it with Singletary. Maybe they'll do it with Cook. Maybe they'll do it with Duke Johnson. Duke Johnson had a pretty good year last year at the end of the year with Miami. So, guy's got a little juice in his legs. He was always a backup, so it's not like he has the miles. So he's a bit older.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have the miles. So... I know as a Bills fan, you're excited about James Cook.
Yeah. And, I didn't even think they would go there just because they have Singletary and Moss, so I figured we would just roll that out again. Because, like you said, we don't fucking run the ball, really.
But that's why they picked the right guy.
Yeah.
They didn't end up with, everybody wanted them to end up with Breece Hall just because he was the number 1 ranked running back. And he's a good running back, but that's not the guy the Bills needed.
Yeah.
The guy the Bills needed was James Cook, and that's the guy the Bills got.
Well, he's the type of player that this regime likes anyway. He can be a running back. He can be a wide receiver. He's more than just one thing. He's not just a running back or not just... They like that versatility. So
and now just thinking about it, all the shifty playmakers you got, you're not even talking about Diggs, but if you're talking about James Cook, if you're talking about another rookie we're talking about soon, Khalil Shakir, but now Tavon Austin, Isaiah McKenzie, you got a lot of gadgety, speedy players on this team where, that could cause nightmares for people.
Yeah.
It really could. And then I honestly think that Devin Singletary proved himself to be, a first and second down running back that you can hand the ball to, get 6 yards, move on.
Yep.
Your running back doesn't need to run for 70 yards. Right? And that's exactly what Singletary's supposed to be for a small guy. Love it. I love the pick. Gushing about it, sorry. Next round, the Bills took a linebacker. Just more depth to the best defense in the NFL. Then the next round, 148th overall, they took wide receiver Khalil Shakir out of Boise State. Another slot guy. Another speedy slot guy. We were just waltzing into this season thinking that Jamison Crowder's the number 3, the slot guy.
Yeah.
Says who? Why would you go and take another receiver? A slot guy, a dynamic slot receiver. Maybe Jamison Crowder's just a depth piece. Maybe this Bills team is so fucking loaded.
Yeah.
Because you forget about Isaiah McKenzie, too. Is he the slot guy? That's crazy. You got 2 NFL caliber slot guys and a rookie fighting over your slot receiver, your third receiver position.
But this team isn't afraid to cut veterans either. Like other teams, they sign veterans in the offseason, and then it's oh, we got to stick with this guy because he's a veteran and we signed him and whatever else. This team is well, if you're not good enough, you're not playing. So,
well, what was the thing? Well, it was really stolen from the 76ers, trust the process, right?
Yeah.
I trust the process. They are crushing it. And then every Bills fan's new favorite for moving forward, I'm telling you right now, just knowing this city, in the 5th round, San Diego State punter, Matt Araiza, 188th overall, but with the nickname of...
The punt god.
The punt god. I'm not going to sit here and act like I know what makes a fucking good punter or not. But the guy's name is Punt God, and there is videos of him just cranking 70-yard punts.
Yeah.
With ease.
I think he almost hit like an 80-yarder, if I'm not mistaken.
With ease.
Yeah.
So, and it's just like he fell into the Bills because I think he was the second punter taken. So how does the Punt God not go first? And we get him, right? Dude, it's
for a team that doesn't punt a lot.
Well, and when we did, our guy choked, man. I remember that. We won that game. Was it the Falcons or something? The guy was just horrendous.
Yeah.
Matt Houck. Everyone's like, well, no, Matt, that doesn't mean Matt Houck is off the team. That means Matt Houck is off the team.
He's done.
He's gone. Getting good riddance, right? And then to finish off the Bills draft, another corner, which I actually forgot about. I forgot we took a second corner. And then a tackle, which any help for Josh Allen is great, and another linebacker. So NFL.com gives him an A? Sure. I'll give him an A too.
Yeah.
And especially for fantasy with James Cook, that's going to be huge. Now, I mean, we didn't do our rankings yet. I don't see James Cook being, top 3 rounds or anything like that. But like
he's the guy that you're going to take at the end of the draft where you're like, wow, who am I going to take?
I don't know
take a chance on him.
I don't know if it's going to be that deep though, honestly. Like James Cook's going to go He might go slightly after Singletary. Like it might be Singletary in the 6th, James Cook in the 8th. I don't know off the top of my head, but
he's going to go early in our draft.
Well, in our draft, he might be in the first round.
Yeah.
Who knows? Because a bunch of Bills marks. But James Cook is an exciting prospect for me. A, as a Bills fan, but B, as a fantasy fan. Literally, one of the best pass catching back in the draft, going to the best quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
Awesome, right?
Agreed.
It was just perfect. So now we'll move on to the next AFC team, which is the defending, the soon-to-be past AFC champions, the Cincinnati Bengals. Looking over this draft, Jay, they took all defense except an offensive lineman. So there's not much to talk about. And the offensive lineman they took was 136 overall. Sure, give Burrow more help. They didn't need a lot of help on the offense. They got a great receiver core. And they got your favorite running back in the NFL.
Joe Mixon?
Yeah, your boy.
The most boring running back in the NFL?
Yep. But if you look at what they did, they shored up weaknesses for them. Pass defense, defensive back, and cornerback with their first 2 picks. And then the 4th round, they took an offensive lineman, which Joe Burrow was murdered in that Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have probably arrested Von Miller and Aaron Donald for murder in that game. So, where's Von Miller now?
The Bills.
Oh, baby! Ow! So, I don't know. Not much to say. Kind of a boring draft, but just like I do, filling holes. Ridiculous. Cancel me. Moving on next to the Cleveland Browns. Oh, the fucking Cleveland Browns. First of all, the Cleveland Browns, quite possibly one of the worst trades in NFL history with Deshaun Watson, as well as, without a shadow of a doubt, the worst contract in NFL history. Deshaun Watson now has a new case against him in the civil lawsuit. And by chance, did you happen to see what his lawyer said today?
No, but I've seen that he offered $100K to each complaint against him, even though he's not guilty.
Which is civil suits. I mean, it's different from criminal suits, right? So, but the thing is, and maybe the lawyer's right about this, but his verbiage is hilarious, what he said. His lawyer came out and said, blah, 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 blah. And if you break it down, blah, 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 happy endings aren't illegal. And I just, lost it when I read that because maybe that's true. Maybe that's true. I don't know. And for 23 women to say you did miscontact in some way, sometimes there's smoke, there's fire, guys.
When you get when you get past 2 or 3,
sometimes there's smoke, there's fire. So I don't.
You're at 2 dozen. and there was a new one, so
Yeah.
how many more are we going to have?
Right? I think I've said it on the last podcast. I do not see Deshaun Watson playing this year at all. So a lot of these players are going to be meaningless. So they didn't have a first or a second round pick because of this trade. So they didn't. So in the third round, they take a corner, then a defensive end, and then they take a receiver. Yes, they lost OBJ and they added Amari Cooper, which I think is a downgrade. And they lost Jarvis Landry. So they finally take a receiver in David Bell from Purdue. Okay, we'll have to see who the hell's throwing him the ball, because I promise you it won't be Deshaun Watson, and I really promise you it won't be Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
So
David Bell, in my opinion, isn't. He's not a wide receiver that you need to be your number one guy, if he's going to be their number one guy.
And he's late. He's 99 overall, so it's not like it's a top priority. That's not even a second round. 99 that's third round. So I don't know. It's a lot of with the receivers. You need a quarterback, and if it is Deshaun Watson, okay, but I don't think it's going to be, and I don't think it's going to be Baker. David Bell at that time was probably a lot of receivers went in this draft, so David Bell was probably the 15th.
Yeah, maybe
15th receiver. I don't know much about him. I don't know if you did any research on him.
Yeah, I did some. I mean, he's kind of undersized. He's only 6 foot. I think he's actually technically under 6 foot, but they list him as 6 foot. And, there was nothing impressive in the scouting report about him. It's just he's average, got below average height. Kind of, he's yards after carry, your yards after catch guy.
So he's basically taking over for Jarvis.
Yeah.
But there was 98 people drafted ahead of him.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't know, Cleveland, maybe if you lost both of your starting receivers last year and only brought an overrated Amari Cooper, you might have wanted to make a receiver move before 99th overall.
Yeah.
So,
but you couldn't, because you decided to give everything away for Watson.
Ugh.
And then not only did they give Watson that horrible contract, but who's the other guy that they signed? Because they gave out the most guaranteed money.
It was probably Cooper.
It was, maybe. Yeah, it must be him.
It was probably Cooper.
Because it was Watson they gave full guaranteed, and I think it was Cooper that they gave fully guaranteed, and it was an insane amount combined. It was the most ever.
And Cooper is just super overrated. So cradle that in now with the Browns. They took a defensive tackle, a kicker, who you never know. You need kickers in fantasy. And then following that, they took a running back, Jerome Ford, which surprises me because 156 overall, that's still fairly early in the draft. That's in the top half of the draft. And they've got 3 good running backs with Chubb, Hunt, and Dearness Johnson. Unless I'm off and Dearness Johnson got cut, but I don't think so.
I don't believe he did.
So it's interesting that they took a running back there, and then they took another receiver, Mike Woods, 202 overall. Don't know anything about him, unfortunately.
Me neither.
Receivers that late, if they end up being good, cool, good for them. And then they ended up with an edge rusher and a center. So even looking at the SI grades, they got a C for the first day of their draft, but then they got an A and an A plus. So maybe they did better later. I don't buy the Browns this year at all, folks.
No, and I mean, the only reason that Baker Mayfield's still on the team is because they're planning on Watson not playing. And they're also playing chicken.
But I don't think Baker's going to play. If they
he could sit out. I guess, but
why would you at that point? So you could go and get hurt, go play on a shitty team, and go get hurt or
it'll
something.
Be peak Browns if they don't trade him because they know Watson, and Baker's just fuck you.
I'm praying for it. I'm not a Baker hater. I think you are a Baker hater.
I'm not really.
No,
I don't think he's good. That good. He's good enough. I don't think he was worth first overall for. He's just not my kind of QB. He's small. He doesn't have. He's got the swagger.
Yes, that's what he's got, and I like that. But but we're spoiled right now.
Yeah.
If we didn't have Josh Allen, I would like to have Baker, right? But we didn't get lucky. We were just a smart team and picked the right player. But if we were in the position we were 4 or 5 years ago, I would have liked to make a move for Baker. Who else are you going to make a move for in this league?
We had basically the less talented Baker, probably, with Tyrod.
Right. Well, Tyrod could run, but no, I know what you're saying. We're gonna move on to the next AFC team, the Denver Broncos, who another team that made a huge friggin' trade to acquire Russell Wilson. Now, we're going to make a drinking game, by the way. Anytime I talk about Russell Wilson, and I call him Russell Westbrook, I need to take a shot, okay?
All right.
That's something I do frequently. I'm working on it. They are two different sports completely. They may be about the same age, but like either way. And Russell Westbrook is overrated too. But anyway, moving on. Did you notice I said two? Because so was Russell Wilson. Did you see what I did there? Okay, so the Denver Broncos didn't have a first-round pick or, I believe, a second-round pick. I don't know. 64 overall was their first pick. That could be the end of the second round. But either way, they took a defensive edge rusher, which they need because they lost Von Miller, who where's Von Miller?
The Bills, baby.
Oh, that's right. And he's pretty good, isn't he?
He's kind of good.
That's right. He's pretty good. Okay, so in the second round, they took Greg Dulcich, a tight end out of UCLA. I know that in the Russell Wilson trade, they ended up getting rid of Noah Fant, who was a first-round tight end pick. So they needed to replace that, Greg Dulcich. But I know they have Albert Okwuegbunam. I think that's his name. And that guy was playing pretty good, actually, until he tore his ACL. So I'm interested to see how they do this, knowing that they have your favorite receiver in the NFL, Courtland Sutton.
Fuck you.
And then Big Booty Jerry Jeudy. So
if he plays.
Well, I just read something that Big Booty Jerry Jeudy got dropped charges.
Yeah.
So he should be
the
fine.
NFL, they can still be like, oh, you did.
And his stuff didn't seem super serial.
No.
Anyway, so I never doubted it. But looking at the rest of the Broncos pick, defensive tackle, safety, a receiver, Montrell Washington from Samford. Don't even know what Samford is. Not Stanford. Samford, right? And then a center, defensive tackle, and cornerback. So looking at the NFL.com grades, they got an A. So apparently they did good, but they did nothing. But they didn't really have to do anything. They already got good running backs. They already got good receivers. They got an overrated quarterback, Russell Wilson. And their defense needed a little help. They put some... You know what? They needed help on defense. They needed help on tight end. That's what they did.
I know you don't do any research for the show, but I do.
Okay.
Do you know who that tight end's comparable to?
Greg Dulcich.
Yeah.
Kitch. I'm going to look at his name. Okay. Greg Dulcich. I'm going to say UCLA tight end. They're going to compare him to Mark Andrews.
Wrong.
Okay. Who is it?
Jared Cook.
Oh, Jared Cook? But he's not 95 years old like Jared Cook.
Exactly.
That could be something. Because Jared Cook was a pretty good tight end in the NFL for a long time. And I don't even know if he's still in the NFL. He might even be, but he's old.
Yeah, he's old as shit.
So he's a backup tight end. Okay, so it's interesting. That's a name that's on my list to check out. All right, moving forward, we're going to go to the next AFC team of the Houston Texans. Oh, boy. All right, Houston Texans third overall pick, Derek Stingley Jr., the first cornerback taken. Okay, who knows? Who knows? You can't predict corners. That's early for a cornerback. That's really early for a cornerback. So I don't know where it's going to go. Look at their picks. They had 5 top 75 picks. That's pretty good.
Yeah, because
right?
they suck.
Because they did suck. Well, and they made that trade for Deshaun Watson, or to get rid of Deshaun Watson. Yeah. And other trades years ago, you know. All right, so 15th overall, they took an offensive lineman, Kenyon Green. This team needs help everywhere.
So, well, what's his name? Fucking basically single-handedly destroyed this team.
Deshaun Watson?
No. Who was the coach?
Oh, Bill O'Brien.
Yeah, Bill O'Brien, who was the coach, GM / whatever he wanted to be, and he just drove this team into the ground.
Yeah, but can you say that? Because when he was there, they were a playoff team. Now, the big trade, getting rid of Nuke Hopkins, and they brought in a second-round pick and David Johnson. I mean, yeah, David Johnson's not what he used to be, but like 2 years before that trade, he was the best running back in the NFL. So if he came back anything like that, who knows what that would have been in a second-round pick, right? Nuke Hopkins, I don't know. He's a bit overrated too, I think. But I understand what you're saying, but yeah, you're right. I can't argue it. But they were good with them. They were a playoff team, but they'd always die in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Always.
And then he just started getting rid of everything and making horrible decisions. And
Well, they had a squad. If you think about it, at one point they had Nuke Hopkins and Will Fuller. So, I mean, that's two pretty good options right there. Will Fuller, I think he's still a free agent. That's a guy I'd like the Bills to bring in, a nice deep threat, but they've got a lot of receivers on their plate. And we're talking about the Houston Texans. Offensive linemen, I'm sure they need the help. Safety, I'm sure they need the help. 44th overall, second round pick. They took Alabama wide receiver John Mechie III. How can you go wrong with an Alabama receiver? You got to give him a chance.
yeah.
Got to always give these Alabama guys a chance because they take over the NFL. Jerry Jeudy was an Alabama guy. The guy I was just shitting on in the Browns over there. Amari, he's an Alabama guy. Julio Jones, Alabama guy. Ruggs, Alabama guy. Well, but still, right? So, and I remember Mechie was kind of like a sleeper receiver pick because he was probably the 5th or 6th receiver taken, right? But he's got Davis, General Mills throwing him the football with the longest neck in history. Then they took a linebacker, running back, Damian Pierce, a defensive tackle, a tight end, and an offensive tackle. So there's a little bit of note here. I mean, interested to see Stingley because 3rd overall as a cornerback. That's huge. That's early.
That's a risk. They're gambling. So they know something we don't.
I know. Well, I think their coach this year, I believe, is Lovie Smith. Defensive coach, right? So given the track record out of all these guys, John Mechie's the one that, intrigues me because they don't have a lot of receiving options after Brandon Cooks. And Damian Pierce, the Florida running back, 107th overall. I mean, they don't have anything.
No. Their wide receiver doesn't impress me that much either.
No? Why is that? Just
reading his scouting report and shit. And
it's just those Alabama guys, though. They're always physical. They're always...
This one isn't physical, supposedly.
Oh, he's one of the outliers.
Yeah. They say he gets dominated by the cornerbacks a lot. He's only 5'11".
So that doesn't sound like your normal Alabama guy. Well, it's interesting.
He's got good hands, and I guess he can run really good routes, but other than that...
Just there's not much in front of him. So that's why fantasy-wise he might be I don't know about being drafted, but just looking at, at some point, free agency. And as per the Florida running back Damian Pierce, they don't got, what do they have? Do they still have Rex Burkhead? David Johnson might be cut by now. I don't even know. Yeah. Right? So he could be a name to think about because there's not much in front of him. And when it comes to fantasy football, that's what you got to look after. You got to look at opportunity. There's talent, there's opportunity, and once in a while you get blessed with both. Yeah. Right? And that's when you hit a home run like Jonathan Taylor a couple years ago. And speaking of Jonathan Taylor, but his team, the Indianapolis Colts, they did not have a first-round pick, so they got a D grade for the day one. How do you give someone that didn't have a first-round pick a D grade for day one? That wouldn't be an F. Okay, so their first, did you do any research on their first pick, Cincinnati wide receiver Alec Pierce?
Yeah, a little bit.
What do you got for him?
Good size, 6'3", and I believe they said he runs good routes.
So taking him 53 overall, that's your first pick in the draft. And they got a bona fide stud in Michael Pittman Jr. Bona fide stud. And I guess they have T.Y. Hilton, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know. And they don't have anything. They got a much upgraded quarterback finally in 95-year-old Matt Ryan. Yes, he's old, but he's durable. He always plays, and you can't shit on his arm.
Yeah.
So now he went to the team with one of the arguments of the best offensive line in the NFL and one of the top 5 running backs in the NFL. So you've got a good receiver, you're putting in a second one. So Alec Pierce is someone that's on my radar for fantasy football.
Yeah, he's definitely, I think, gonna be a good pick.
And then they kept it up. The next pick was Jelani Woods, Virginia tight end. I mean, they have a lot of tight ends there. They had a lot of tight ends there. I believe Jack Doyle retired. But they had Mo Alley Cox, who's like 6'9", one of the biggest dudes in the league, and another option for Matt Ryan. And the next pick they did was an offensive tackle who from Central Michigan. So what does an offensive tackle help? The offense and Matt Ryan. So they're pretty much going all in right now with these picks for helping Matt Ryan. And I'm looking at this. They took another tight end, 192nd overall, and Andrew Ogletree. I don't know anything about him. But I remember the Jelani Woods pick was interesting because he's an athletic guy who's going to be a pass catcher. Given all that information, like I said, Alec Pierce is on my radar. The tight ends aren't. Matt Ryan's on my radar for second string quarterback.
Yeah.
Like, or if I do what I normally do and wait to pick the last quarterback, like I tend to do sometimes. Once in a great while that fails me because I end up picking, instead of the 12th quarterback, like the 16th, because people start taking their backups. If that ever bites me like that, Matt Ryan would be on my radar. Do you like Matt Ryan better than Carson Wentz?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess. Today's NFL, I think it's like the NBA. Like, big Shaq-like centers are the thing of the past. It's almost like these pocket statues are a thing of the past.
Yeah.
So you just kind of have to see where it goes. But I do know Matt Ryan's arm is still great. Obviously, his mind is still great. So we have to go from there and see, right?
Yeah. I mean, he's getting old, so at some point that's going to play a factor.
I think he's entering his 15th season.
Yeah,
right?
like that.
Former NFL MVP. So these are the best. This is probably the best offensive line he's ever had, and this is without a shadow of a doubt the best defense he's ever had, and without a shadow of a doubt, probably the best running back he's ever had. He's in for something. I don't want to say he's in for a career year, but like, Matt Ryan could be like, Tom Brady a couple years ago. Just great quarterback, came over to a new team and just revitalized it.
Yeah, definitely.
So we'll move on to the next pick. Oh, boy, I've been waiting to talk about this fucking team, man. There'll be some wrestling talk in this segment, too. So we're wrestling fans here, folks. And I think Tony Khan, I don't think he's technically the GM of the Jaguars anymore because he's horrible at his job. And in wrestling, because he's involved in AEW wrestling, he owns it. But they first overall pick, and they fucking blew it. They fucking blew the first overall pick and took edge rusher Trayvon Walker, first overall from Georgia. Yes, Georgia was national champions. Okay, this guy's athletic. Fantastic. Okay, great. They struck out on taking Aiden Hutchinson, who's been the best defensive player graded since the Browns took the hell's his face, the defensive end there, drawing a blank.
Myles Garrett.
Myles Garrett, who's fantastic, and this guy has even higher ratings than Myles Garrett. So they have this guy sitting in their lap. Last year they took the best quarterback rated in like 10 years. They had the chance to take the best defensive end rated or the second best ever rated defensive end in the past 10 years. And they fucking strike out and go with Trayvon Walker, who only had like 7 sacks his whole college career. They fucking blew it. Tony Khan's a moron.
Yeah, but also the guy that's run the Jags, I believe it is, has just a terrible track record as well. So
they just started putting a end quote GM because Tony Khan was the GM forever, and he just makes dumb boneheaded after bonehead moves. And in wrestling, he does the same shit. So. But he keeps his word in wrestling. Remember, he said, like, CM Punk will never win the championship?
Yeah.
Who's the AEW champion right now?
CM Punk?
Yeah. Old part-timers won't come into wrestling and just take over. Yeah, okay. So, I just have...
Trent Baalke is the GM.
They got him recently, because it used to be Tony Khan forever. And I think Tony Khan... Here's my gripe with Tony Khan, and I'll say this, like, little wrestling thing. I remember I did research for this a long time ago. Tony Khan was the GM up until, 2-3 years ago, say. In 16 or 17, the Jags were in the AFC Championship game. Remember that? Remember they beat the Bills in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Right? 2016-17. They were in the AFC Championship game, lost to the Patriots. The next year, Tony Khan started AEW And ever since then, they have picked in the top 10 of the draft every year because they've been horrible. I think it's good that he's not technically the GM anymore, but they still fucking struck out. And I could be wrong. Maybe Trayvon Walker will be great, but how do you pass up on such a well-loved, productive player? I mean, that was just such a strikeout. But their second pick, Devin Lloyd, linebacker from Utah, that guy is a leader. I remember looking at the Bills for him, not that we needed a linebacker per se, but this guy was a leader. Utah had 2 players pass away over the past 3 or 4 years, and Devin Lloyd just brought the team together and just was a leader on that team and led the team in tackles. And for a Utah player to go in the first round, it's not that often, right?
Yeah.
So I think he was a good pick. Followed up with a cornerback, another linebacker. So they went all big boys in the first few rounds. And then they took a running back. Great name. 154th overall. Snoop Connor. So great name. Not on my radar because they have James Robinson, but he's hurt. He tore his Achilles later in the year. But they took Travis Etienne in the first round last year. Well, people forget about. Great pass catching back. I was dominating this because I hate Tony Khan. What do you have to say about this team?
They don't do anything right, kind of like the fucking Texans.
I wouldn't even put them on the same level. This team is worse than the Texans.
Some of Trent Baalke's mistakes was he drafted the guy 20th overall in 2020, Chasean.
Kevon Chason.
Yeah.
Oh, so this was his third draft as the GM.
At least, yeah.
So I mean,
he traded C.J. Henderson for fucking Dan Arnold and a pick that got him where?
Isn't that Roseanne's husband?
Dan Arnold?
Isn't that his name? I know he was a tight end, but you never watched Roseanne?
Yeah, I did.
Isn't that his name? Dan? Aren't they the Arnolds? Or the Connors?
Connors.
They're the Connors. Never mind. I know what I'm talking about.
Gonna have to edit that out.
Nah, fuck that. People know I'm stupid.
And he traded Minshew.
Which I like Minshew as you know who Minshew is? Minshew is, just recently retired. Minshew's the new Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think he's going to be Minshew's going to be the best backup quarterback in the league. The kind of guy that could get you to the playoffs.
Yeah. But
right?
They didn't need to trade him.
No, but they did because they took the blonde beauty.
Yeah.
The blonde bomber.
And
who sucked. Look.
He also signed Tim Tebow.
Well, that was more of your boy Urban Meyer signing. So, did you see Tebow last year though? He looked jacked.
Yeah, he's ripped.
But I don't know. I just hate this con. I don't think this team is going to do anything. So we're just going to move on. We're going to move on to one of our biggest rivals as the Buffalo Bills fans, the Kansas City Chiefs. And they got an A overall grade from SI.com. They took Trent McDuffie, 21 overall, cornerback, which they needed to do because you got Josh Allen, you got Justin Herbert, you got Derek Carr, you got Russell Wilson to worry about. So they needed it, and they followed up in the first round with George Karlaftis, who is another edge rusher. Again, everything I just said. So in the first round, they took a corner and an edge rusher. And what do you use those for? Pass defense.
Yep.
So they know what they needed, followed by a really sneaky good pick, Western Michigan's wide receiver Sky Moore at 54th overall.
That's your guy.
Sky Moore was the guy that I was excited for. I was hoping the Bills would take him in the first round. I'm happy with Elam because it's the smarter move. But as a player, Sky Moore... But now that I'm coming back, looking at the team, I mean, he would have just been fitting in right with everybody else.
Yeah. He would have been our 75th slot guy.
Yeah, a slot guy, a burner type guy. So, this is a reason Brandon Beane's the GM and not me, right? So, him going over to the Chiefs, they brought in your boy, we'll call it Lauren's boy, Juju Smith-Schuster. Lauren always tends to draft Juju. And now you got Sky playing the slot. Could be dangerous. And they needed someone to replace Tyreek Hill. They needed a speed guy. And he's definitely a slotty speed guy. So he scares me a little bit as a Bills fan.
Yeah.
And fantasy-wise, he's on my radar for later in the draft. Did you do some research on him?
Yeah, a little bit.
So, but pretty much everything we said, just more of a slot burner guy. But there was
supposedly got good hands.
But that was kind of Tyreek Hill, right? So he might be the right replacement for him. But as we said on the last draft, or the last episode, it's interesting to see what's going to happen. Who made who? Who made who, right? And, God, I'm just so excited for this year. I just can't wait for this year to get going. We'll move on because I don't even know how many more we got here. Oh, the next are my second favorite team. The Las Vegas Raiders. They didn't have a lot of draft picks, and do you know why that is?
Why?
Because they traded away a bunch to get your boy, Devontae Adams. So they didn't pick the 90th overall. They took guard Dylan Parham. Okay, I mean, anytime you get a guy in the trenches is going to help for your team. Then they took Zamir White, running back out of Georgia, who was technically, I believe, the starter over James Cook.
Yeah, but White's he's got broken knees.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, then maybe that's why he went so late. You have broken knees. No, you have a broken back.
Yeah.
And then looking at the rest of their draft, trenches. So, guard, running back, defensive tackle, offensive tackle. And then a UCLA running back at the end of the draft. So, that's interesting. They took 2 running backs, considering they have Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake. And then they had... I can't remember his name, but they had another guy that was playing decent for them last year. But that's because Jacobs is gone after this year. They didn't renew his deal. I just don't think any of these guys are going to be impactful, except the linemen, but who cares? Linemen are boring. Now we're going to...
Linemen matter, too.
Yeah, I guess so. But now we're going to your second favorite team here, I think. The Los Angeles Chargers.
My guy.
You're a big Herbie fan?
Yep.
So they started with offensive lineman, Zion Johnson. Okay, Boston College offensive lineman, I'm sure he'll be fine. Like, good pick. Safety. And then they went in the 3rd round, which was interesting. Isaiah Spiller from Texas A&M. Now, Isaiah Spiller, big boy. Big, meaty running back. Isaiah Spiller was I think ranked 3rd running back from a lot of people. It was Breece Hall. It was... the guy that went to the Seahawks, and then Isaiah Spiller, and he went 123rd overall. I believe the Bills took the 3rd running back at James Cook at 68. So he went really late.
He's compared to a former Bills running back.
Which was that?
TJ Yeldon.
Oh my God, I forgot we had TJ Yeldon. Wow, TJ Yeldon. That was an Alabama back, too. So that means he's a big boy. TJ Yeldon was a big boy. TJ Yeldon was a good pass catcher, so maybe Isaiah Spiller is. Which is interesting because they have, we were talking about him last week, they have Austin Eckler and who else, right? So they needed somebody, and that's a pretty good 1-2 punch if you get the big boy Spiller moving and then the more shiftier, muscly Eckler. So... Yeah. I'm interested to see. Spiller's on my radar for sure in fantasy. Absolutely. And then they took defensive tackle, guard, couple of corners. Again, they got to put up with Patrick Mahomes and all that stuff. And a fullback. So, really, a fullback.
Who takes fullbacks?
Are those still in the NFL?
I don't think so. There's 2.
Fullback. All right. So then, I just laughed. Now we're going into Miami. They had 4 total picks in this draft. That's why I laughed. I didn't expect to see it. And I don't think they're going to make any noise. Linebacker, okay. Texas Tech wide receiver, Eric Azukanama. And honestly, I didn't even know this guy existed going into this draft. 125 overall, Eric Azukanama. Texas Tech wide receivers. Texas Tech are gadgety. So, but Miami's got a few gadgety guys. Tyreek Hill's, Jalen Waddle. So, I don't think it's going to do anything. I don't think any of these guys should be on your radar. They didn't even take any linemen to help out Tua or anything like that. And then at the end, they took Skylar Thompson, quarterback, 247 overall. Who cares at that point? Now it's time to talk about the former arch rival of us, New England Patriots. And I've been waiting to talk about them because I'm not lying. I want you to introduce this. What did SI give New England for their overall draft grade?
A nice C+.
Man, is Bill Belichick losing it?
Yes.
So they took 29th overall, Cole Strange, a guard. And I'm not going to act like I know about guards, but all I know is when they drafted him, everybody was like, what? We got this guy graded in the 3rd round kind of pick. Same thing, 2nd round. Baylor wide receiver Tyquan Thornton, 50 overall. Same thing. I got to double check that. I believe they took Tyquan Thornton before the Chiefs took my boy Sky Moore. Sky Moore went 54th overall. Yeah. So Tyquan Thornton went 50 overall. It was another pick where they're like, what? Really? From Baylor. Baylor receivers are always trash. Don't give me Kendall Wright. Don't give me Corey Coleman. No offense to your family. No offense to your family, your cousin Corey. But they're always trash in the NFL.
Are they even in the NFL?
Not anymore. We had Corey Coleman for a while.
I remember that.
You should have got a Corey Coleman jersey.
Should have.
You should have. Too late now. So, and then, of course, in Patriots fashion, 2 cornerbacks in a row. Okay, got to compete with Josh Allen. But then there's next 3. South Dakota State running back Pierre Strong. I don't trust any running back named Pierre. Not even Pierre Thomas back in the day. Western Kentucky quarterback Bailey Zappi. And South Carolina running back Kevin Harris. And they also have a running back named Harris on the roster.
Yes.
So it's just an interesting draft. Like, why are you taking a quarterback so early? You just took Mac Jones. And I'm sure you can find a better backup. 2 running backs in 50 picks just about. When you have Rashard Stevenson, James White, and Harris.
Yeah.
Baffling. This team baffles me. And then a defensive tackle, a center, and a tackle. Okay. Baffling picks.
Bill's cashing it in.
Baffling picks, man. I don't even know what to say. Like, I'm in shock of that team. And I like, usually we get to the point with the Patriots where we're like, they're going to show us. These picks are going to turn out great. No way. Horrible draft. But now, same division, and I think this was an outstanding draft. We got to go to JC Money's favorite team, the New York Jets. They're going to get props from me here because they had a really outstanding draft, I feel like. They had 3 first-round picks after a couple of trades, and technically 4 first-round, like, projected players taken it. They had 4 picks in the top 36. 4th overall, Sauce Gardner. A cornerback 4th overall, but this guy had way more accolades than Stingley.
Yeah.
So, like, this was the can't miss prospect, right? Don't know if he's going to be, who knows, right? As a cornerback, but one of those 2 are going to be shitty, I think.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be Stingley.
I agree.
So Sauce scares me as a Bills fan, honestly. Now, Garrett Wilson, number 10th overall, wide receiver, hooking up with your boy Zach Wilson, who you drafted last year, by the way.
Did I?
You did. That was your backup. So what are your notes on Garrett Wilson?
Good burst, good speed. It's only like one of the only flaws was inconsistent route running.
Which is important, especially with a kind of inaccurate quarterback of Zach Wilson. Calm down, JC Money. He's an accurate quarterback. Garrett Wilson, for me, there was a lot of receivers in the first 2 rounds of this draft. Garrett Wilson for me was the least impressive. The one I was least excited about. Drake London would have been my favorite. Jameson Williams right there. I might even take Olave over Garrett Wilson, honestly. Maybe Garrett's sitting in my 4th, honestly. So, and I think he went as the 2nd receiver taken. I don't know. He just maybe impressive isn't the right word. I mean, it doesn't mean he sucks, but he's just boring. It's just he's not the fastest. He's not the flashiest. I don't know. He just doesn't excite me, but that's a top 10 receiver you just took there. And I mean, a top 10 pick on a receiver. So obviously you're trying to compete with the Bills. You took a cornerback and a receiver. And then your next pick was an edge rusher, Jermaine Johnson, 26th overall, who a lot of people had in the top 10. So that's why, to me, they had a really outstanding draft. Oh, and by the way, they traded up again to take the number 1 rated running back in the draft, Breece Hall. Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall should be on everybody's fantasy radars. You just got to remember the rookies. And a lot of things with rookies is sometimes they take a while to get motoring.
Yep.
So if you're going to take Breece Hall, you're probably taking Breece Hall in the 4th or 5th round.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's going to pay dividends to the 6th, 7th week. So you need to
I think he's going to have a better chance than Garrett Wilson.
You don't know, because here's the only caveat I have against that is last year between Zach Wilson and Mike White, they had a rookie receiver in Elijah Moore who was doing pretty good. And that's somebody they took in the 3rd round. This is a guy they took in the 1st round. So between those two quarterbacks, they showed they could sustain a rookie quarterback or a rookie receiver to do well. But you still have Elijah Moore, you still have Corey Davis, and now you're bringing in this guy. So I don't know. I think Elijah Moore owned his time. And Corey Davis I still think that guy's talented. So, Zach Wilson could be a sleeper. You never know.
They're the Jets. They suck.
JC Money's going to kick you off this podcast. He's going to kick me off of the network if you keep slandering his Jets. But to finish out their draft, they also took a tight end for 101 overall. Ohio State tight end, so the guy must be a pretty good player. Then a tackle and a defensive end. Jets got a draft grade. Pretty good. I don't necessarily think the Jets scare me as a Bills fan this year, but moving forward, there's something to be afraid about. Now I feel like we're taking forever here, so let's get this moving. We're already at about an hour. So next AFC team, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the only team to take a quarterback in the first 2 rounds. Well, first 2.5 rounds, they took the right guy, Kenny Pickett.
Yeah.
And then, coincidentally, they took Pickett, and then their 2nd round, they took Pickens. So Pickett Pickens. So, okay, Kenny Pickett, the joke that he has small hands. Okay, cool, whatever. Make fun of the guy. He was the absolute right guy for Pittsburgh. The guy went to the University of Pittsburgh, trained in the facility. So you don't think that these motherfuckers watch this guy like a hawk? They know how this guy practices. They know how this guy prepares. And he's in the perfect situation because he does not have to start this year. They got Mitch Please.
Yeah.
So they got Mitch Please. Mitch better have their money, and he'll go and he'll start. He's going to bring this team to the playoffs this year. And Pickett can sit and learn for a year, even 2. What was your scouting report on Pickett?
Best overall QB, and the only thing was his hands, which everyone makes fun of. So
sure, it's a fun meme.
Yeah,
it's a fun meme to make fun of. But the thing about Pickett, and it makes sense. If Pickett was in last year's draft, he might not have been a 1st round pick. If Pickett's in next year's draft, off the top of their head, people don't think he's a 1st round pick. He made it this year because of the lack of good quarterbacks. But at the same time, he went to Pittsburgh. It was perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, this is where he's from. He's a Pittsburgh guy. He went to Pittsburgh College. They've watched this kid his whole career. Now, watch out for Pittsburgh, because in the 2nd round, they took Georgia wide receiver George Pickens. Georgia wide receiver, I mean, they just won the national championship. They have talent. Then they took a defensive lineman, and then 138th, they took Memphis wide receiver Calvin Austin III, who is the Tyreek Hill of this draft. He is the fastest player, the most insanely, athletic, gifted, talented receiver. But he's a 4th or 5th round pick for a reason, right? Because he's raw. He's kind of like your boy Antonio Gibson. I think he went to Memphis too. Just these athletic freak guys who's learning the position. Antonio Gibson was actually a receiver in college. They moved to running back in the NFL. Calvin Austin could very well be the Tyreek Hill. That's not me saying he's going to be a top 5 receiver. But, he has that speed and that talent. And he doesn't have to go in right away. They still have... They took Pickens. They still have Claypool. They still have Deontay Johnson. They still have the Freiermuth. So the guy can learn and be a super dynamic kick returner, too.
Yeah.
I love that pick for the Steelers. I love it. I like what the Steelers did a lot. The Steelers are a sleeper team. The Steelers are going to win the AFC North this year.
How pissed is Mitch going to be if he loses a starting job to Pickett?
Pickett's got to do it. I don't think it's just going to be handed to him. Pickett might be a 1st round pick. So I did there. But he's not a 1st overall pick. You know what I'm saying? So it's Mitch, we know Mitch has talent. not the greatest arm, but the guy can move, the guy can read defenses, the guy can make the throw that needs to be. And he just sat underneath the best quarterback in the NFL and one of the best coaching staffs and just went to, like, arguably another great coaching staff.
Yeah.
With Najee Harris and all those receivers I just mentioned. So, Mitch...
And Mitch showed Bills fans that he's not as bad as the situation in Chicago.
Chicago had nothing around him.
Exactly.
The Bills put stuff around him. Well, not around him, but now he's on Pittsburgh, who has a lot of stuff. So, and they gave him money.
And a coach that's technically got a better pedigree than the Bills.
Sure. And they gave him money. They didn't sign him for $2 million.
Yeah.
They gave him, I think, a 2-year, 20-something mil. So, I don't see Pickett starting this year. I see Mitch Trubisky getting this team to the playoffs. So, we'll move on. We're getting close to the end of our AFC thing. AFC here, we went to the Tennessee Titans, another rival of ours right now. They traded away A.J. Brown. Big trade. Crazy trade to trade away A.J. Brown. And what did they get with that pick? Wide receiver from Arkansas, Treylon Burks. Speed guy, right? Did you do your research on him? He's definitely a speed guy.
Yeah.
Which is different from A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown was a monster. A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf went to the same school. Monsters. How did anybody stop those two? Insane. So, what is your thoughts on Treylon Burks?
He's supposedly got some undisclosed issue that he's been battling, and no one seems to want to say what it is.
Right, he's been leaving practice, being dehydrated and tired.
Yeah, and he was seen using an inhaler. The media asked him about it. He was like, "Oh, you gotta ask Coach about that." They asked Coach, and Coach was like, we're not going to talk about
that. Because of who the coach is. Obviously, he's from the Bill Belichick table, so he's not going to tell you anything. Interesting receiver. I mean, to me, you can't even call it a lateral move. It's a downgrade. A.J. Brown is a monster, is an awesome receiver. So I felt that was a downgrade. They should have gave him the money. So now their starting receivers are Treylon Burks and Robert Woods. I mean, we love Robert Woods around here, but, come on, A.J. Brown... If you think about the Titans, 2 seasons ago, their starting receivers were A.J. Brown and Corey Davis. 2 big athletic guys. Now they're Treylon Burks, who's a smaller speed guy, and Robert Woods, who's coming off an ACL tear and not the most athletic guy in the world. So, heavy dose of Derrick Henry coming up.
Yeah.
Right?
And the Titans need good wide receivers when you got fucking, what's his name as quarterback?
My boy, Tannehill?
Yeah.
Or do they? Because in the 4th round, 86th overall, or 3rd round, whatever, don't quote me. Well, first of all, Ohio State tackle Nicholas Petit-Fier went 69 overall, right. And then Malik Willis, who everybody claimed was the best quarterback in this draft, went 86 overall. He's not the best quarterback in this draft. Just because he's fast. Okay. Lamar Jackson's fast. Kyler Murray's fast. Okay, but they also have big, strong arms and fairly accurate. Malik Willis is not accurate. He is a fast guy who isn't accurate. Now, the Bills showed that you could tame a wild horse with Josh Allen. So, maybe the Titans can. And if they do, cool. I think it was a steal for them to get him when they did. Did you do any research on Liberty quarterback Malik Willis? Yeah, so he's he's like Lamar Jackson, but Lamar Jackson's pedigree was different. Lamar Jackson won the Heisman.
Yeah.
So did Kyler Murray. You know what I mean? So it's like he's the next one in that camp, except he's not as touted and he doesn't have as much production. And it's just like another good place to be. Tannehill's obviously not the greatest. Couple more years of him. Maybe Malik's your guy. But here's the sleeper pick. The next draft pick, Michigan running back Hassan Haskins. They have not had anyone to give Derrick Henry a break. And Hassan Haskins is almost any running back in the NFL is the exact opposite of Derrick Henry. There's not many people.
There is no other Derrick Henry.
Unless you're handing Brock Lesnar the football to run the ball. True story, though. Just to put it in everyone's head, Derrick Henry has the same stats and size body-wise as Hulk Hogan, bro. My goodness. Anyway, Hassan Haskins is a little smaller, shifty guy. So, you're yawning over there?
Yeah.
You're old fucking man over here. We're almost done. Hang in there, kid. So I think that's one of the sleeper picks of drafts. That doesn't mean Hassan Haskins is in my radar to draft fantasy football-wise. Malik Willis isn't. I mean, I guess Treylon Burks could be. But just remember that name, guys. Hassan Haskins. I think he could be something in the NFL because, like I said last time, the last draft, this is like Derrick Henry's last big year, I think. And they're going to have to spell him. They're going to have to relax him. And I think Hassan Haskins was the perfect pick for them. So I don't think you did any research on him, did you? Okay.
Isn't Tannehill the guy that said that he wasn't going to fucking mentor anyone?
Yeah,
recently?
But what he said, and I agree with him. He said, it is not my job to mentor this guy. And it's not. His job is to be the starting quarterback of the team. Malik Willis's job is to try to take that from him. That doesn't mean you have to fight or anything. It's not his job to like put in any extra effort and be like, why don't you come and read the playbook with me? It's not. And I agree with him in that scenario. Am I wrong for thinking of that?
I don't know. Are you?
Or does Tannehill have to... Why would Tannehill have to groom his replacement? Why would anyone have to do that?
Oh, technically they don't have to, but I mean...
Is your boy Aaron Rodgers doing that?
Aaron Rodgers is an asshole.
Yeah, he's an asshole, right? But did Brett Favre do that? No, right? So, like, the only guys that groom their replacement are, like, journeymen. Like, Fitzpatrick would have. You know what I mean? Because he was, he's not
Tannehill's been around.
Well, he's only on the second team.
Yeah.
He's a first round pick. I don't know. I don't have anything bad to say. So,
well, I think when you're getting to the end of your career, like, I'm sure someone showed Tannehill, around or whatever. So I feel like when you're getting to that point in your career, when you know your time's coming to an end, like, why the fuck not?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you're right, but at the same time, if it's not, he's right in those choice of words that it's not his job, right? So, but I guarantee you, Tannehill's the kind of guy that, like, it's not his job. Tannehill is the starting quarterback of this team, but if something happens and he's not anymore, he's injured, he'll help. He'll pitch in, I think. So, going back over the AFC, other than the Bills, who had the standout player for you here, the standout draft? Would you say, or one of your favorite fits?
I think outside the Bills, I think the best probably draft would probably be the Jets.
Overall, yeah, yes, but what about fantasy fit? Like, is there somebody that, like, I know we're in the same league, and it's like, oh, I'm looking forward to this player, but like, is there somebody that's excited you in this AFC picks?
No,
not really. Yeah, it was there wasn't a ton. Honestly, probably the most exciting one is James Cook.
Yeah, that's what,
I mean, I can allow Breece Hall. Breece Hall could be something exciting. And like I was saying, Sky Moore for me is like Sky Moore is probably the one I think that could be the best out of everyone we talked about today. Possibly. Fantasy football-wise. I think Sky Moore could be the answer for somebody somewhere.
Yeah. Well, especially since, he's basically going to probably take over for Tyreek Hill, so...
What a good fit. What a good fit. And, like I said, Calvin Austin could be a big thing, too, later in the draft. And like I said, Hassan Haskins.
And it's going to benefit Sky Moore. Not only are you stepping into being Tyreek Hill's replacement, pretty much.
Well, no, you're not, because Juju is. So that's also a little, like, off of his plate. He doesn't have to come in as a second round.
Yeah. Plus, they're going to probably double team Kelsey, so it's going to open up things for more.
And they still have some speed over there. They still have your boy Josh Gordon. They still have Mecole Hardman. So they have a lot of speed. I know, I believe last time I said the Chiefs ain't nothing. They don't scare me. They don't. But, I mean, they've whooped our ass 2 out of 3 times, or is it 3 out of 4?
2 out of 3, I want to say.
I think it's 3 out of 4. We got them in the regular season. Yeah, we got them in the regular season last year. They beat us the regular season before. They beat us in the playoffs twice. So, they're still daddy, unfortunately. Even though we beat them.
They took the Patriots' place.
Yeah. So, even though we beat them once in the regular season, then we crushed them in the regular season. But still, they're daddy right now. So, we do have to give them that respect. We don't have to respect the Patriots anymore.
No.
We're daddy
They're
now.
fucking dead.
Yeah, they're dead. We're daddy now. Mac Jones calls Josh Allen daddy.
Yeah.
That's how that goes. Well, thank you for joining me for this podcast, Jay. We'll be back next week with the NFC breakdown, which I feel there's a lot more people to talk about. A lot more exciting picks to talk about. And we appreciate you joining us. We're going to end you out with another song. We hope you liked the song last week. This week's song is, since I just went and saw them last week, we're going to listen to Renegades from the band LA Guns. It's a newer song, not one of the old 80s tunes. But Jay, thank you for coming out.
See you next week.
And we will be here on the Fantasy Football Bros podcast. Peace.
Desert sky, the road goes on and on. I remember the days we spent hiding from the sun. So I tell her again and again, there's nothing left to say. So I tell her again and again, I won't be back this way. Like renegades, gypsies on the open road in the desert rain. Nowhere else to roam. Disarray. No promise of another day. Renegades, forever renegades. Golden hair brushes my face as the dusk of twilight fades. No need for any words, no time for moonlight serenades. So I tell her again and again, there's nothing left to do. Oh, I tell her again and again, I'll never forget you. Like renegades, gypsies on the open road in the desert rain. Nowhere else to roam. Disarray. No promise of another day. Renegades, forever renegades. Like renegades, gypsies on the open road in the desert rain. Nowhere else to roam. Disarray. No promise of another day. We were renegades, forever renegades. Renegades. Renegades, just like renegades. Renegades, forever renegades.
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network.